I'm Amanda Midkiff, and this is the Locust Light Show, your gateway to creating potent plant magic in your everyday life. No matter where you are on your journey, I'm so glad you're here. Today we are talking about anointing oils, especially as a potion for an old season. We're going to explore what anointing oils are and how to imbue them with magic. Anointing oils are quite simply an oil you use to bless, sanctify, witness, or consummate. They're oils that are used in ritual as saying, you are blessed, this is sacred, you are being seen in a new way. They're often used either to prepare a person for ritual or to conclude a ritual. So when you're using an anointing oil to prepare yourself for ritual, you might be using the ritual itself as a way of consecrating yourself or a ritual object. A very common way anointing oils are used is to acknowledge that a person is being witnessed in a new identity or a new role. So they're a way of being seen. And this is very, very, very important in a ritual because often rituals are ushering us through a transformation, and the goal is to be seen by our community and by ourselves in a new way. When I'm crafting rituals for myself and my community, to me, there's a very important step, which I think of as consummating the ritual. And the consummation is a moment in which we take all of the spiritual work we've done in the spiritual plane and pull it into the material world. And we pull it into the material world by using a physical action that I think of as the consummation. When we're doing magic, most of the real work we're doing is spiritual work that is happening, in the ethereal world, the spiritual plane out in the cosmos. We're doing visualization, we're doing reflection, we are changing who we are in our hearts and our spirit and our soul. But of course, when we make spiritual changes, we don't want them to just hang out in the spiritual world on the spiritual plane. We want to bring them into the physical world because we make the spiritual changes so that we can experience changes in our material reality. And that is why we use tools like anointing oils to bring those changes into the material reality. Anointing oils are by far not the only way to do this, but they're the tool I like to use in the winter, especially around in bulk season, because firstly, it's nice to use oils. And also because when we follow the wheel of the year, in bulk is a really good time for stepping into a new identity. We have set intentions at winter solstice, and now we are working towards manifesting those intentions. And a good first step is to embody a new identity, one that, the identity of having the intention. So for instance, say your intention was to buy a house this year. It's time to shed the identity of being someone who rents spaces and step into the identity of being a homeowner. So I really enjoy working with anointing oils as a ritual tool at this time of year to help us to step into this new identity and be seen and see ourselves in this new way and to acknowledge that. And so often the oil, like using the oil in some way, whether you're anointing here, wherever, is a really beautiful way of consummating any energetic work you do in the direction of this intention that you have set. If you are involved in any traditional religious institution that uses anointing oils, those anointing oils will be probably canola oil that someone has prayed over in mass, and then the religious institution just purchases and uses. And learning that fun fact, that what a religious anointing oil is just simply like low quality oil that someone has prayed over the room that it was sitting in. That was really inspired me to, and helped me feel empowered to start making my own anointing oils. Because we're so used to handing over our spiritual agency to other authority figures. Even if, you as an adult are not doing that, you may have been raised that way. And certainly culturally, that is the way we do things here. And, when an anointing oil is used in a larger religious ceremony, it can feel very reverent and very sacred because of the many layers of reverence and tradition that surround it. And when you are doing magic for yourself, you are not as able to give yourself like thousands of years of tradition or, the sensation of like huge cultures of people buying into the practice that you're doing, perhaps. But you can make yourself an anointing oil that is way more magically potent than some canola oil that someone has prayed over and then has been shipped around the world. You, as an herbalist and or plant witch, can make yourself an anointing oil that is empowered with layers and layers and layers of magic. We're going to talk about how to do that. So in this video, we're not going to cover how to make an infused oil. That's a separate topic for a separate time. But the first way you can make your anointing oil infused with magic is to start with an infused herbal oil. And what I would recommend is looking up herbs that can support whatever the goal of this particular anointing oil is. So it can be really nice to make yourself anointing oils that support one very specific identity. In my personal potion life, I think of like two categories of potions. There's the potion that is really specifically crafted to support one very specific intention or one specific bit of magic that you're working on. And you can like add so many layers of, symbolism and meaning and, potency into that. And then there is more general potions for general use. So, for instance, you might make an anointing oil that supports your goal of home ownership, or you might make an anointing oil that is simply for use at the start of any ritual you're doing to prepare yourself for the ritual. So those two separate things. So depending on the goal of your anointing oil, you might choose different herbs. So if you are making an oil to prepare yourself for ritual or ceremony or pulling cards or something like that, you might use herbs that help to, open up the second sight and help to open up your intuition. So you might use herbs like mugwort or clary sage or motherwort, or any herb that makes, you feel particularly magically alive and sparkly. If you are using herbs to, help yourself achieve an intention, you might think like, who as a plant wants to work with me towards this goal? Who's a plant ally who wants to work with me towards this intention? Who can help me here? And, or, what plants do I associate with whatever the intention is? And those would be the plants to infuse into your oil. You can also, if you have essential oils of those plants available, use essential oils, and you could also use flower essences. Flower essences are very nice for anointing oils. Once you have your infused oil, if you are storing your anointing oil in a cute little roll-on bottle like this, which is very handy, you can put, dried bits of whatever herb you're working with. So this happens to be a rose anointing oil, so there's some rose petals in here. And then you can do additional magic with this. So either while the oil is infusing or once it's bottled up, you've got some options. One way, I'll start with the most important. The most important and potent way to infuse your oil with the intention is to truly hold it and as viscerally as you can visualize your intention, whether it's the intention you'd like to achieve or simply consecration for ceremony. And, you can hold it in your hands, you can hold it to your heart and really call forth the intention in your heart's eye and allow it to flow through your entire body, through your hands, into your oil. So this is the most potent way to do this. Everything else we're going to talk about is just for fun and a little extra magic. But what you're doing, again, when we are making spiritual changes, we're making these changes on the spiritual plane and we want to draw them in the material plane. So you're pulling the possibility and the potential for these changes from yourself you're putting it in the oil. And then when you apply the oil to the body, you are, that oil has now changed and been imbued with the vibration of the new future. And then you are applying that to your body and reapplying that vibration of the new future to your physical body. So it's just a mechanism of pulling these changes forth from you, because that's where they're coming from, and putting them back into your physical body. And it's a nice mindfulness moment. So that is the most important and potent way. Beyond that, additional ways. It can be very nice to write out a description or a story of the intention and let your oil sit on it on your altar. Similarly, you could draw a picture, let it sit on it on your altar. You could infuse your oil in a crystal grid with certain crystals that you feel are empowering it. You could leave your oil in the moonlight, in the sunlight. You could create it or strain it or bottle it on a certain astrological day if that feels most appropriate to you. So, if your oil is about something to do with abundance, maybe you want to strain and bottle the oil on Jupiter hour, on Jupiter day, which would be a Thursday. Or maybe your oil is about improving your public speaking skills. Maybe you want to strain and bottle your oil at Mercury hour on Wednesday, which is Mercury day, that sort of thing. I also recommend really working with numbers for the amount of time that you're going to strain or infuse your oil. You might want to choose a number that is somehow either associated with the intention or associated with the quality that you're going for, and let your oil sit for that many days. Or if there's a number that feels particularly potent to you, let it sit for that many days, etc. I also love the idea of, infusing your oil near other powerful objects like plants. So if you have a tree friend near your home and you can rest your oil against the trunk of the tree for a few days, if you live near a river and you want to set your oil somewhere safe near the river and let it infuse with the rushing energy of the river. If you want to sit your oil near plants in your garden, all of those are extremely potent ways to infuse your oil with magic. And the last way I'll say is to sing to your oil, to sing your intentions, to play music, to use a rattle or a drum and create joyful noise, any sort of joyful noise to imbue your oil with intention. So there you have ways to potentiate an anointing oil for use during imbue season or during any time of the year. I'm going to leave you with a question for reflection. What is a new identity that you're looking to step into during imbue season as we move towards the new year? Let me know, drop a question below or drop your answer below, and I can't wait to hear. Please remember that the earth and the plants and the trees love you. You belong here.